Morning, everybody. This is your boy D Mac. Let's talk. So, the love of money is the root to all evil. You heard the song, For the love of money, people will steal from their brother. For the love of money, people will rob their own mother. Yeah, love of that money, man. For the longest time, we've been killing each other and destroying each other over money. And we don't even have a true understanding of what money is. We don't have a true understanding of what currency is. And if we did, we would see that the lack of value in it is not worth a life at all. I don't think anything is worth a life, but money definitely is not worth the taking of a life or the loss of a life. And I'm going to explain why I say that, because money is really worthless. It's a concept. And the only thing that's backing this concept is the honor of the government that is issuing that money, the um the resources, the natural resources that are connected to it to give it value. And without that, it's absolutely nothing. So what are we really fighting and killing each other over? We're killing each other and fighting each other over a concept that we made up, a value that we made up. So there's no real true value to it. So let's dig into this and dig into how the dollar works, the US dollar in particular. This can count for a lot of other currencies as well, but since we are US citizens, we are focusing on the US dollar. Now, the US dollar used to be backed by gold and silver. This is what gave our currency its value. Fort Knox had a gold and silver reserve, and all the way up until 1971, that gold and silver reserve is what backed the value of the printed US dollar. Now, after that, our gold reserve started to diminish because our strongholds in Africa and all the areas where we were garnished and all this stuff began to dry up because other countries were stifling in as well. Um, but then, lo and behold, um, the powers that be said, look, gold and silver is not going to maintain this currency. It's going to crash and fail if we don't do something and get something of longevity and of value for everybody, to that everybody demands to back this money, because the value of it is determined by the demand for that currency. And so the United States made a deal with Saudi Arabia and these oil barons in the Middle East to back the oil, or to only accept the US dollar for oil. And so anybody that came to them to buy oil had to use the US dollar. And this is what gives the US dollar its current value. This is what backs our legal tender, the oil. And the demand for oil is going to dictate the demand for the US dollar, therefore placing our money in a certain bracket on the global money market. So, where are we at right now? Well, our currency isn't number one. The number one currency is actually the Kuwaiti dinari. The Kuwaiti dinari, one Kuwaiti dinari is worth $3.29 US. And that's because of the high oil in Kuwait, obviously. Um, but the demand for the Kuwaiti dinari is not that great. So, its value is really mostly within its own borders. Um, so now let's talk about fiat money. What is fiat money? Well, All right, fiat money is that money that's not backed by anything. So these stimulus checks, all of these stimulus checks that's going out, that's fiat money. It's not backed by anything. It's not backed by any oil. It's not backed by any gold, silver, or any commodity of value. And so all this money that's going out for stimulus checks, all it's doing is causing inflation. And that's going to cause the value of the money to go down. So it's not that the prices of things are rising, it's just the value of the dollar is falling. And we'll see like hike ups and stuff in the store, but that's not really a hike up on stuff. It's just the value of the dollars went down. So it costs more of your currency to buy the same thing at the same value. Do you get what I'm saying? I know it's kind of confusing, but I'll try to break it down even more. So Bitcoin. Bitcoin is fiat currency. Bitcoin is not backed by gold. Bitcoin is not backed by silver. Only thing Bitcoin is backed by is the full faith that the government will pay on that currency. That's what it comes down to. So let me get into my reading a little bit because I'm rambling a little bit. So it says currency value is determined by the demand for that currency. So the demand for our currency, I've already established, has been done through oil. Now, the fiat money is backed by full faith and trust in the government that issued it, and it's not backed by any physical commodity or precious metal. So now we're in a position right now, United States, while we're getting these stimulus checks and people are praising the government for giving them this stimulus check and this money, it's really not hurting them at all. The only thing that's hurting is us because it's making our economy unstable. That's what this is doing. So let's not be celebrating these stimulus checks so quick because what they're going to ultimately end up doing is make us pay more and make our money decrease in value across the globe. So let's go into what really happened. Now, it says crude oil prices are always quoted in US dollars. This is the deal that was made. And this is one of the reasons why Muammar Gaddafi was killed. Because Muammar Gaddafi said, I don't want to do that deal anymore. Anybody who wants to buy oil over here, you don't have to use US currency. Whatever currency your country uses, I'll take that. Same thing with Saddam Hussein. That's what he said. And this is why we ended up over there at war with these people, bombing these people, destroying their country because they were messing with the price of our US currency. They were messing with the earning or the buying power of our US currency. And in doing so, they were killed and they were made examples of. That's exactly why it was publicized the way it was. Saddam Hussein, public hanging. Muammar Gaddafi, he was beaten down the streets of the city and then shot to death. And it was all televised. Why? Why was such gruesome things televised? So that the rest of the world could see the example that was being made by the United States. And we all know that George Bush Sr. and Jr. were oil barons. That's what they did. They're from Texas. Out here in Texas, we have a lot of these oil barons, and that is why they were over there, and that is why they were fighting. And when we were in Iraq, one of the main things that the Iraqis did that I noticed everywhere that we touched down, if there was a oil refinery there, they would set it on fire. They would rather burn up every last bit of that oil than to let us get it. And we couldn't just go and put out the fire. You can't just go and put out an oil fire. You have oil shooting over 100 feet in the sky and it's burning. All you can do is sit back and let it burn out. Then that's all we could do. So for years, we would sit there and all of this burning oil and smoke in the air, it infiltrated our lungs and caused a lot of breathing problems for soldiers. And this is the things that we had to deal with over there, because they said that they would rather destroy the oil reserves than to allow us to get a hold of them, because that is exactly why we were there. So let's get that straight, United States. It wasn't no weapons of mass destruction or the bull crap that they led you to believe. It was about the oil and the US currency being messed with, because they were selling oil for other currencies outside of the US dollar. That's exactly why we were in Iraq. That's exactly why Saddam Hussein was killed. That's exactly why Muammar Gaddafi was killed, along with what's his name, Osama bin Laden, because Osama bin Laden, he funded most of the terrorism. He was a trust fund kid with millions and millions of dollars. George Bush is very familiar with him because his father and George Bush Sr. were in the same group, the Bilderberg group. So they're very familiar with each other. It's not like this is a guy that they didn't know who he was or they didn't know anything about him. No, they knew him very well. And they knew the money and the capabilities that Mr. Bin Laden had. And once again, that murder was done publicly. That murder was done in front of everybody. And then the most suspect Jeffrey Epstein type thing happened with Saddam Hussein's body. They decided to throw it overboard. Come on. We are not stupid. We are not stupid. We know exactly why you got rid of that man's body. We know why you got rid of the evidence, but that's neither here nor there. That's for another day. So now our money has been stabilized again, because all the other countries see that trying to mess with the United States when it comes to oil and destabilizing the US dollar will cause us to go to war very quickly. And so all of this money that we're getting, who controls it? Who controls the money that we get? Who controls the money that's dispersed out throughout the United States? Who controls the money that the government borrows? And that's the Federal Reserve. But the Federal Reserve is not a United States bank. It is not a U.S. bank by far. The Federal Reserve is a foreign entity that centralized itself in the United States so that the United States could borrow money from it and be indebted to this Federal Reserve Bank. And so now these bankers have a stakehold in United States because of all of the money that we owe them. And this is what the Federal Reserve does all across the world. They will set a bank in your country. They will loan you out money and loan you out money until you become so indebted to them that now they have a foothold in your government. So I'm going to tell you right now, right here, eye to eye, face to face. Look here. See my eyes? Our government don't run nothing. Our president does not run anything. Okay? These senators and these congressmen and women who act like they have all of this power and who faint like they're doing so much, they have absolutely no control or no say over anything. You know who does? Those bankers, those global bankers, those Federal Reserve bankers. They're the ones who have the real say so and influence in not only in the United States, but in the world. Okay. So let's understand that. So when we're talking about Putin and we're talking about who's in Kim Jong Un and we're talking about Xi Jinping and we're talking about Joe Biden, and none of these people are the real people in power. They're told what to do by these bankers. These Federal Reserve bankers have these people by every single world leader. They are puppets, because now they are all in debt to this Federal Reserve Bank. So when we be like we're in debt and we owe a certain amount of trillions of dollars, and we've always asked the question, well, who do we owe it to? Oh, we owe Japan this and we owe China that. No, we owe the Federal Reserve. That's who we owe. Now, when they say things like we owe China and we owe other places like that, that's because the Federal Reserve has made it to where other countries can buy your debt. So say China wants to have us indebted to them, they can go and I want to buy about $2.3 billion worth of United States debt. Okay. They pay that to the Federal Reserve. Now we're indebted to them. That's how that goes. And so these countries will buy our debts in hopes of using it as leverage against us in some type of way. And a lot of times that ends in conflict because we're like, no, we're not going to do this with you, depending on what their relationship is with that country. So when you have the Federal Reserve that controls the money supply in the US, and you have the banks that generate most of the money in our economy, this is why they bailed out the banks during Obama's presidency. Yeah, that whole bailout for the big industries and the banks and stuff, because the banks generate most of the money in our country. Okay. And so without that banking system, they're not going to be able to capitalize on the currency that is dealt out to us. All of the interest rates at the banks, all of the taxes on the money, and all of these things like this is how they get back all of the stuff that or the value of that money. Man, I'm doing a horrible job at telling this, but I'm trying to break it down as easy as I can because money is a hard thing to try to explain to people, but it's a must that we understand it, and it's a must that we do explain it to people. So even with this hack job that I'm doing right now about money, hopefully somebody will get some understanding out of it. It'll plant a seed to get them to go and research further and get a deeper and better understanding of what I'm trying to explain right now. So while we're fighting each other and killing each other over this concept of something that has value, um, we're really losing out, because the thing that has true value, the human life, the one who's able to earn the earning potential that the United States borrow money from the Federal Reserve, as a matter of fact, because that's exactly what happens. I've stated before in a past video that we have a social security number only because that is an account number that the United States borrows money from the Federal Reserve off of, because they use our earning potential as an individual citizen as collateral to borrow from the Federal Reserve. Okay. That's how it works. That's how it goes. And the demand for our US dollar abroad is what gives it its value. And the only thing that's causing the demand for it is it being attached to oil. And so that's why the Republicans are really, really pushing back on this Green New Deal, because they know that oil backs our money. And so without oil, they're afraid that the US dollar is going to collapse, which is a, a very good fear to have. It's warranted because it can happen. But at the same time, a lot of this money is just fiat money anyway. And that's money that's not backed by a physical commodity or a precious material like Bitcoin. So with Venezuela, I believe it's Venezuela, isn't it? Venezuela that declared Bitcoin as its actual currency, as its nation's currency. That's crazy. That's a big, big gamble right there, to make a fiat currency that is backed by nothing your currency. especially in a country like Venezuela, which is, in all rights and purposes, a third world country. But maybe they had no other choice. I don't know the details of that, but I'll try to find out so I can have a clearer understanding of why they would use a fiat currency as their national currency. That's kind of crazy to me. But yeah, the big banks run the United States. These people in office don't run anything. They don't move or they don't do anything without the say so of these bankers and these larger entities, the true elites, because yeah, our president and people, they're not really the elite. The elite have so much money. Their great grandchildren have more money than Donald Trump could ever think to have. There's nobody in the United States that has more money than these people. When they say that 85% of the world's wealth is owned by about 13 families, then that is the truth. And these families have, man, if they had Donald Trump money, they'd probably commit suicide. That's how much money these people have. They have so much money, they're not on the Forbes list. Their children are above the Forbes list. So when we're talking about the power dynamic around the world, just understand that these leaders in these countries don't run anything. They are ran. They are ran by the Federal Reserve. They are ran by the people who run the Federal Reserve, those worldwide bankers who's controlling the value of currency all across the globe. All right. So while we out here in the streets and we making these money phones and we out here flashing this cash and making the money fans and all of that stupid stuff, it ain't worth nothing. It's just a concept. And you're killing and dying over a concept. I hope you feel good about yourself for that. Because to me, you look stupid. My value of money is whatever my family needs and whatever keeps us comfortable, then it is what it is. But I'm not going to go out here and break my neck. I'm not going to go out here and break my back. I'm not going to go out here and break my character or my integrity for money, because now I understand what it is, how it works, and that it has no true value. The true value is us. Okay. That's why United States is borrowing money based on our earning potential. We are the true commodity. We are the true currency. So start treating yourself as such. I know I do. And I'm never going to devalue myself for anybody or anything. Y'all remember when that journalist, what's his name, Khashoggi, was killed in Saudi Arabia, and the United States did absolutely nothing about it? You know why? Because the crown prince, he has America in his shirt pocket, right there, right there, because that's where the oil is. And he's got America right there in his shirt pocket. And anytime America has anything to say about what he does, he let them know, I got you right here. Don't forget it. And we will prostitute ourselves out to these other countries for those simple facts, for that simple fact that we want to stay in good graces with these oil barons so that our money can remain the currency to buy it with, so that our currency won't collapse and our economy won't collapse as a whole. So we're banking on other countries' faithfulness to our deal. That's what our whole economy is stringed upon. So when you see them going to these conventions and going to these other countries to meet with these leaders, that's why they have to keep these relationships intact in order for people to want to demand our money and use our currency. Because if not, as soon as they start losing value in the United States, which one of the biggest things that Donald Trump was doing, and that's why he lost so much Republican support, is because they realized that he was messing with foreign relations. And a lot of those foreign relations was tied to our currency and our economy. And for him to put strains on those relationships really put our economy in jeopardy. Okay. That's what happened with that. Nobody really wants to talk about that being the reason. They're going to give you these superficial, surface level reasons, but that's the ultimate reason why he's losing and lost so much support, because they understand that he's messing with the global money market. Um, yeah, this is what money does. It's the root to all evil, the love of it, not the actual physical currency. For the love of money, people will steal from their brother. It's still the same. The concept hasn't changed and it never will. Let's see what this Green New Deal and this new energy is going to do for the global money market, and how we're going to be able to transition over from oil and fossil fuels into this green new whatever, and how is our economy going to be supported by this effort. I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen with this, man. And y'all stay tuned. Keep your eyes peeled, because this is something that we definitely need to teach our children and anybody else who don't have this knowledge. So that's why I have that Cash App down there now. For the love of money. So I hope y'all got something out of this video. And if you didn't, then oh well. It still occupied a little bit of time that you had. This is your boy D Mac. I'm about to be out of here. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.